So the men's Royal Rumble began 3 hours into the show. There had been 3 previous matches. And that was the point where Michael Cole said, and we have 70,347 fans here tonight. They had a bunch of them. I mean, they inflate a lot, but there were legitimately, has anybody questioned there had to be 60 to 65,000 people there that had tickets, not counting the parking attendants and the, miscellaneous staff? Or do you know, have they inflated this to a massive degree?
According to WrestleTix, the day of, there's a plane going by.
That's not good news here lately.
That's a scary thing to say out loud, yeah. According to this, at 5:30 p.m. the day of the Rumble, there were 313 available tickets. Tickets distributed, 67,590.
Jesus Christ.
So then add, 5,000 for the magical people WWE.
Well, not even. They added 2,500. That ain't bad. They probably had 2,500 legends sitting in the crowd. Anyway, they started the men's match, and I see where they were going, and they didn't get there. Rey Mysterio and Penta were the first 2 to start. And when you think about that, the pitch sells itself. The iconic Rey Mysterio, he's a legend, he's a Hall of Famer, whatever. The cutting edge guy of the Lucha Libre style 20 years ago versus Penta, our new Lucha star, he's today. So we've got, a meaningful couple minutes there where everybody can see them do their thing by themselves, right? That was the pitch, and that, I would have gone for that. Before I say anything, did it materialize in your mind, Brian, as wonderful as what people might have thought it would have been?
The Penta Rey Mysterio?
The 2 minutes they got to just do their thing.
I mean, it was okay. I don't know what people could have expected. It's not like they can do anything to the floor. And,
well, they did.
You say 2 minutes, it's like 3 minutes, because when 2 minutes happened, the next person came in, but they had a long way to go.
And a short time to get there. Yeah, I know it took 5 minutes for both these guys to acknowledge the crowd and get to the ring, but did you look away when you saw that basically Penta was eliminated 1 minute and 30 seconds into this thing?
Well, you have to go over the top rope to the floor with your feet, with both feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't clear.
It was
if
clear
both feet touched at the same time. The referee said one. The referee said one.
I recorded this on real television, Brian Last, and I got slow-mo and freeze frame on my cable box because that's real TV. And both his feet touched and he pushed off. And you could tell. Point is, they did the handshake. Penta wouldn't let go. He pulled him in. He did zero mito. People were into it. They started into their spots. They're doing some things, and then they did the deal where they both went over the top almost, and it was going to be teased, and they'd said Penta's feet both touched. And Wade Barrett said, it was only 1 foot. And Pat McAfee said, we need a review. Guess what we didn't get, Brian?
The review, my kid was asking me about that. She never watches. She wanted to watch the Royal Rumble. Hey, where's the replay?
Yeah, there wasn't. We're going to wait a long time on that. Long fucking time. And they fucked around trying to be a little cute. But anyway, they did some stuff, but it wasn't. And before anybody says, oh, fuck, you just hate Penta or you don't like the Mexican people or whatever the fuck, I was watching it concurrently when Rey Mysterio showed up and was doing the shit he was doing, and everybody was going, holy shit, look at that. And I didn't get that from this because it's Penta's job now to give us the holy shit, and it wasn't there yet. I don't know, but we didn't get a review. Maybe if we'd got a review, How fast do you think that the producer was in Pat McAfee's fucking ear saying, we're not going to fucking replay it?
Don't mention the review.
Don't say it again. So then number 3 was Chad Gable. Number 4, Carmelo Hayes. Number 5, Pablo Escobar. Number 6, Otis. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. They're doing the same thing they did with the women. But then number 7 was Braun Breaker. And again, you can tell who they've got the plans for. I talked about it in the women's match and the old Pat Patterson philosophy. A star comes in, you want him to be portrayed right, he makes an impact. He speared Carmelo Hayes and tossed him out and hit the Brakensteiner on Gable and suplexed Otis, just picked him up and just fucking flung him. And leveled Rey Mysterio and speared Escobar while Escobar had Penta up on his shoulders, and then he tossed Escobar's. He just running roughshod here, right? And that people remember those highlights. And then the low light came when number 8 was Tozawa. And as he's coming out, and I haven't, with the new, more adult, grown-up, sensible approach to the WWE, have they outgrown Tozawa? Is it funny anymore to anybody?
Well, he's part of the comedy act with Model Girl and Otis.
Is it funny anymore to anybody?
No, it's not funny. I wouldn't say any of it's funny.
Well, then how could a comedy act not be funny? Send them to the fucking Catskills.
It's a wrestling exclusive thing.
Let them get booked on their own merits and see what happens. Otis will be washing dishes and Model Girl will be
washing dishes. Let's
dishes alongside Otis. So Carmelo Hayes is going back while Tozawa's coming out, and Hayes just leveled him in the entranceway and knocked him goofy. And they follow with the camera, they pick him up and take him back to the gorilla position. And there's Triple H, and he's like, Tozawa's hurt, he can't go. Well, somebody's got to go. And then he turns around and tells somebody, I thought, because the gorilla position wasn't lit that well, and I see the guy, I thought it was Leo Rush. But it's somebody that you mentioned earlier that people on social media acknowledge or whatever, named I Show Speed. Now, how does he show speed? He
saw speed.
Well, he may have taken some speed to get the courage to go out there but he's an influencer. Have I mentioned how badly I hate that word influencer? Like, has anybody ever aspired to be an influencer? And if you have, how sad must your life be?
Yeah, how many of these influencers are just trying to influence you to buy their meme coin?
How many of them are just trying to influence their way on a WWE pay-per-view now?
That seems like an easy thing to do. That actually seems like the easiest thing of all.
Yeah, well, this guy, but he was under the influence, and so they sent him out there. And I wrote, what the fuck, who is this? Because I didn't know at the time that he was the social influencer. So he slid in the ring and ran up behind Braun, who was trying to dump Otis, and helped Braun dump Otis. So he technically got credit for an assist on an elimination. And then he did a standing backflip in the middle of the ring, like celebrating. And then Braun Breaker speared him so hard he turned his toenails backwards. And then he picked him up and bodily threw him over the top rope to Otis, who caught him on the fly and gave him the SOS, the sack of shit slam, overhead over the announce desk. And wasn't even looking where he threw him. So you could tell that those two guys would have spent money to do those spots because they enjoyed that. And whoever this fucking guy is, when he wakes up, I'm sure he'll have had a wonderful time. But
the anticipation was awesome because as I smell speed, what's his name?
I smell.
What is his name?
I show speed. I wrote it down. I show speed. I feel pretty. Oh, so pretty.
Well, as he's standing there, Braun Breaker starts running the ropes, and you know it's coming, and you're like, oh, and he backs up, and Braun hit him as hard as he's ever hit anyone.
Boom. Well, that's because the guys resent this
But don't you have
interloping.
to? Even if you didn't, don't you have to? Because if you're light on the celebrity there, it kills you.
Yeah, of course, and that's why all the guys who it was a big thing. It was a thing in Ring of Honor. I'll get back to this match in a second, like 15 years ago or whatever. When guys would go out after the show, fans would want the guys to chop them. And we actually sent a memo out at one point when Sinclair took over, said, don't chop any goddamn, because there was videos popping up on Twitter or whatever. I said, number one, if you cave the guy's chest in, or if he has a heart attack walking away from the fucking fan fest, or whatever ambulance chaser gets a hold of him, he could suffer ill effects and sue you. But more importantly, if you don't hurt the motherfucker and he stands like, oh boy, yeah, that stings, and look at the state of him, then what does it say for your opponents when they go down? So nobody can ever go down from your chop ever again. So what are you fucking doing here? Tell the fans I don't get paid. I don't fucking hit people. And I'm not going to hit you because then you'll sue me, or your family will, because you'll be dead. Anyway, so I Show Speed was shown the door. And then number 9 was Sheamus. And number 10 was Jimmy Uso. And number 11 was he's single, girls, and looking to mingle, Andrade. And then we get to number 12, Jacob Fatu. And again, here's a guy they got plans for. He needs to look good. He kicked Gable, and Samoan dropped Andrade and gave the ass in the face to Gable. And Penta tried Zero Mito and got to 0 and got punched. And then he picked Penta and Rey Mysterio up and gave them a double Samoan drop. Tossed Gable and tossed Mysterio and tossed Andrade. And just had turned, and he and Braun Breaker were about to face off, and there was some anticipation, and the rest of people that were in the match got in and broke it up and diverted their attention.
But they shot it well. You got that moment of Braun behind him in the crowd, ooh, like waiting for it. We'll have to wait a little longer, but I bet it'll be worth it.
Well, and if you notice all these shots where they get a guy's face, but there's a guy behind him, and the over the shoulder and all the, it's not like that they're just grabbing that on the fucking fly. And now, again, this is another reason why, if you're at this level and they're doing this as a talent and you're doing this kind of stuff, you've got to be able to know where you are in the ring. I'm sure they're walking through it or going over it or giving some kind of briefing beforehand about, if we get this shot or whatever. But to be able to, you're in a stadium, 70,000 people, you're in a match with a bunch of fucking guys, and still you got to know that you're on the east side and you need to be facing to the north to look over the guy's shoulder. It's very complicated. Fortunately, back in my day, we didn't have to worry about that, because with the cameramen we had, we were lucky if they were actually shooting the ring. Jackie Crockett was shooting the blonde from Spartanburg in the front row half the time. Anyway, number 13, Ludwig Kaiser. Took his time, he had that pissy face walk that he does, and he didn't get in the ring. He went to ringside and he kind of hung out, and finally he saw his chance. He rolled in and grabbed Penta and went to throw him over the top rope, and Penta reversed it and tossed Kaiser, and that was it. So it's better if that happens to you than if you go out there and you're cannon fodder for 10 minutes and then somebody dumps you and they don't make a big deal out of it. And by the time that you've been in for 10 minutes, they forgot when you came in anyway. So if you're an underneath guy, you're not going to get a pop for being dumped after 10 minutes. But after 21 seconds, they like it.
Hey, a little less than a month in, and I don't think he was on last week's Raw, but the 2 matches and then the Rumble, what do you think of the way they're treating Penta?
They're definitely, again, they're trying to push him. And they are pushing him. And he did better in the first TV or the second TV match than I thought he did in the first TV match. And the first one was with Gable. So a lot of that was him. The language issue is going to play some level in it. That's something that Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero didn't have to really contend with. So I think they're trying, and he's going to be very valuable for them, especially in the Hispanic markets and as a merchandise seller. But I still think that he and his brother coming in at the same time, they would have been a bigger splash as a tag team than possibly than he's going to be carrying on his own.
Yeah, Tony knew that too. That's the point. Yeah.
But then number 14 was The Miz, and we come back to reality. And then number 15 was TNA champion Joe Hendry. And he hit the ring and got to come back on several of the guys. Got a big ovation from the crowd, choke slammed Miz, so he got over with me. And then as he was celebrating all these things, Fatu stopped him. And they started to do a thing where Sheamus was there, and he wasn't happy that Fatu stopped him because he was like, I was enjoying that when he was doing the boom, boom, clap thing. But we didn't have time to see if that was going to lead to a fight because number 16 was Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. And you know what? Now that I saw that, I'm pissed off. You know why?
No, pissed off at what?
Because back in my day, they told the managers, don't go to ringside for the Royal. I have a picture of, I think it was had to be the 1995 Royal Rumble, with me standing in the entranceway pointing to the ring, telling Jimmy Del Rey, run, because the manager would just come out and like, go, run, be free, go win the Rumble for me, and then you'd go back. They didn't have the managers at ringside back in my day.
Well, now there's only one manager.
Well, but he takes up as much space as like 4 or 5 of us did back in the day.
I thought we were clear and free of any insults, and here we are again.
Well, I'm just stating facts. You know, we could all, me, Albano, Harvey Whippleman, the Johnny Polo, the other Bobby Heenan, we could all fit inside a cargo elevator.
You know, that walk to the ring may be the most steps Paul Heyman's put in a year.
Exactly. Normally he calls a cab in New York to get from one place to the other. It's that far apart. Anyway, here came Roman Reigns, and he tossed The Miz, and he tossed Sheamus, and he tossed Hendry. And then Braun speared him. And Braun went to toss Roman Reigns out, but Roman reversed it and tossed Braun Breaker out. So again, the guy that got early offense on Roman Reigns after his initial flurry was Braun Breaker, and it fell to Roman Reigns himself, one of the most over guys in the match, to dump Braun. So anytime that Braun talks about from now on about if he's confronted with not winning the Rumble, well, it took Roman Reigns. So this was very good. And then Fatu jumped Jimmy Uso and tossed him about the same time. So now we got Roman and Fatu for the first time, a little tease. And they did I got to be honest, the big, okay, now we're going to fight 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 may have been slightly overdone. It was appropriate for all the people that did it, but it was a lot in the end of this match. But the big 1, 2, and then Jacob took over, but Roman came out with a big spear. Boom! And wouldn't you know, just at that time, number 17 was Drew McIntyre. And he wants Roman, so now we got Roman and Drew in a big 1, 2. Roman and Drew in a big 1, 2. And how about you? Do-si-do. And then Fatu stopped Roman, but Drew helped Fatu because obviously he doesn't like Roman. So strange bedfellows here. Actually, that was a German video series. I don't know if they can subtitle the pay-per-view Strange Bedfellows. Can they?
I don't know. I don't know this video series.
Well, then, while all the big boys were fighting, here came Finn Balor to give Penta something to do because he'd been laying around for a while McIntyre and Roman and Fatu and Braun and everybody mixed it up. And then after Finn and Penta got going, then 19 was Shaky Nakamura. And then number 20 was Jey Uso, and he got the big pop. And there was 70,000 people waving and yeeting. But like, if he'd had to come from the top of this arena, Coliseum, stadium, all the way down to the ring, he would have needed a fucking defibrillator by the time he got to the ring. But Jey made a comeback on everybody. And a little awkward. Some of these guys are not the best at feeding him, and he does have the timing situations, and he tossed Nakamura out. But he's not a big, like, Braun Breaker hits the ring, has got to toss 3 or 4 people. Jay's not an animal. He is a human being. And then number 21 comes about AJ Styles. Number 22, Braun Strongman.
You have nothing to say about AJ Styles? This is the first time we've seen him in a while.
I forgot that he'd been gone. But I don't know what's going on.
Welcome back, AJ.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And Braun Strongman, this was where they needed Andre the Giant's motorized cart, right? This poor guy, his fucking legs people who had polio are more mobile than...
Were you surprised he was here after the angle they did at the end of the match with Jacob Fatu on Saturday night's main event?
Yes, kind of, especially when he was, not in any kind of plaster or cast or wrappings or anything. And then I think they did a great job getting Fatu over in this, but for this guy to come out and then get in a fight with Fatu and eliminate him, that wasn't well thought out, in my opinion. Somebody else that is going to be money going forward with the bloodline story and the world title picture and whatever the fuck should have been the one, I think, to eliminate Fatu, but he threw him completely over the top. And then Fatu cleared the desk out and threw the desk chairs, around and pitched a fit, but he had to leave in the end. And that's why I was kind of bleh about Fatu's elimination with and especially again after he had been pretty much run over by a fucking truck the other night, right? But he is one big SOB. That's what I've heard.
Indeed he is.
How big a boy is he?
I don't know, 6'10"?
What time you think his brother gets off of work?
Who is next in the Rumble?
You wait till my brother gets off. I'll be down there. See, if you know, you know. Roy D. Mercer. The next...
what is happening?
What are you... This is Roy D. Mercer. All right, number 23 was John Cena, and the place blew as soon as you heard the crickets chirping of his music. And did you notice that John had a look on his face the whole time like, oh shit, what have I gotten into here? It was almost, he almost looks like, what the fuck? He's come in from a time warp. He's still wearing the gimmick. He's almost 50. He's in great shape for his age, but he doesn't see the sun a lot. And
the bald spot was bigger than ever.
He's starting to morph into Jim Varney.
Again, it's John Cena. He's as skinny as a big muscular guy can be for Hollywood, but he's still in great shape. No, I mean, he's not as big and thick as he used to be.
Skinny as a great muscular guy.
Well, they don't want big, thick, muscular guys. They kind of want skinnier, muscular guys because that'll look better on the silver screen. But he looks like he's in great shape, and he's got all the charisma of John Cena, so he's all right.
Well, I know he's going to be
fine. Why are you putting down John Cena? What did he do to you?
I'm just saying it was odd seeing him in this company with Drew and Punk and everything. It's like suddenly there was somewhat of a time warp in terms of presentation when you see what got over.
Yeah.
During Cena's.
No, it felt cool though. Like when you saw it was Roman Reigns and Punk and Cena, it was like, wow. Then Jey Uso, you're like, oh, well, I guess he won't be there too much longer. But
and then here came Gene Stanley. And we were amazed at the progress. But Cena, the place blew. He came in, he dumped Braun Strongman, and tried to attitude adjustment Finn Balor into Braun's arms when Braun was standing on the floor, and Finn fell short and basically on the back of his head, and Braun kind of bent over and grabbed his legs on the way down and then stood up and said, "Oh, fuck," and walked off pissed like he missed the fucking catch. I don't know if he was mad at his own catch or at Cena's pitch, but if you go back again, look, that's why I love the real television. You slow-mo that when he's like, "Ah, oh, fuck this, shag, damn it, risen rattin, red frattin." So then Roman speared Drew, and Roman and Cena faced off. And as soon as you got Roman and Cena there staring there eye to eye, nose to nose, toes to toes, like Mussolini in the stadium, had interrupted that thing. He walked purposely as the crowd was singing his song, and he's got the game face on. And here comes Punk, and now you got Punk and Roman and Cena were up on their feet, and AJ and Drew and Jey Uso were down on their face, and the crowd was roaring. And Punk and Roman and Cena said, that's what I noticed Cena was like, holy shit. His facials were just hilarious to me. But they milked the whole 2 minutes. And they didn't touch, they didn't do anything. And boom, the music played number 25, and it's Seth Franklin Rollins. And now people, oh shit. And Seth came in and tackled Punk right away, and then Cena and Roman got into it. But then Drew went after Punk, and then Seth was fighting Drew. So this is what we came to see here, all of this intermingling. And then suddenly number 26, Dominic Mysterio. And he ran straight up to the top rope because Cena was laying there and splashed Cena and tried to three amigo Roman, and Roman just picked him up and gave him the Samoan drop and stopped his ass. And boom, 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 now everybody's mingling about again. Number 27 is Sami Zayn, who comes in, he kicks Drew, and then he kicks Seth, and then he gets in a fight with Punk, which was mingled and ghost shadowed on Raw the other night. And then came number 28, Damian Priest. This poor boy, it wasn't a big reaction. He made a big comeback that was set for him to do. Everybody fed him. But could you tell that it was like, no, we've seen Punk, we've seen Seth, we've seen Cena, we've seen Drew. We are not here for you. He chokeslammed and tossed Dominic, and that got a big pop, but I could chokeslam Dominic and eliminate him, and I'd get a big pop because they wanted to see that happen. But was that kind of a real-time peak meter that Damian has not cracked into that echelon yet?
Yeah, and I don't think that is a good example, because I think with him and Dominic, there is a specific history that may get a bit of a pop. And I'll give you a great example, not to play spoiler, Drew McIntyre. When they're looking at each other after the elimination, my first thought was, oh my God, I don't want to see this again. Because we've seen that, right? We've seen Damian Priest and the Judgment Day had issues with Drew McIntyre. But they got to do something with him, but can they send him to TNA for a while? I mean, how does this work?
Oh,
no, I mean, seriously, just to retool and just kind of experiment or do something on a show with no viewers. Just something, because this isn't working. There's no buzz. There's no energy. The guy was a world champion. My kid said, who's that? I'm like, he's a former world champion. And then it hit me. Wow, he's a former world champion. No one's reacting to him.
Yeah. And then number 29 was LA Knight, who came in and made a nice comeback. I think some of it he might have just taken on his own.
What did you see? The rumor is that it may be him. And let me just say it's a rumor, we don't know. But apparently the story is that Drew McIntyre left the building or left the match really upset, and other guys had problems too with one of the talent trying to get all of his stuff in. And a lot of people think it may have been LA Knight. And if you watch the match, you can understand why that may be a thought.
Well, but at the same time, didn't Drew McIntyre stalk out of a big show about a year ago and everybody was trying to read things into it and he was just working?
Yes. And also, when he got eliminated here in this match, it appeared him and Priest bumped into LA Knight and whoever he was doing his spots with. So they like collided right when they were doing obviously a very planned elimination. But who knows?
Well, who knows?
Let's keep our eyes on that. But LA Knight got all of his stuff in. That's for sure.
Yes. Because he was running out of time. Because number 30 was up, and here came Logan Paul. And again, right as Logan Paul was coming, suddenly Damian Priest dumped Drew McIntyre in a flat way from behind that you almost didn't see. Maybe they were running a little long. And then LA Knight tried to dump Logan Paul, but Logan Paul broad jumped from the apron to the desk, so his feet had not hit the floor as of that point. And then that's when LA Knight dumped Priest. And Logan Paul walked around on the railing and jumped to the stairs, and AJ was about to springboard off the apron, but Logan Paul foiled AJ's springboard attempt. His feet hit the ground and he was eliminated. So a lot of things happened there in a short period of time. So again, you may be right, Brian, but I may be crazy. But it just might be a lunatic you're looking for.
Or it may be Logan Paul. I mean, those are really the two prime candidates, right? LA Knight or Logan Paul at the end of the match. Who would have come in there and just tried to get their stuff in?
Well, but LA preceded Logan, and as a result, Drew's elimination got no pop whatsoever because there was other things going on, and my money would then, in that instance, between the two of them, go on LA Knight. Yeah.
You know what I hate? When people have to get all their stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It doesn't make you feel too great.
Well, we're here at the great end of the Rumble because now we got big stars in the ring and one of them has to win.
Yes, we got Roman, we got Cena, we got Jey Uso, we got CM Punk, Seth Franklin Rollins, and Logan Paul. And then they all started cooking their various spots, and Seth gave the curb stomp to everybody and then faced off with Roman, and they milked it forever, and then they got in a big one, too. They did some back and forth shit, and they were both hanging over the top rope, and Punk came from behind and dumped both of them, Seth and Roman. And then as soon as he looked down at what he had done and saw that it was good, Logan Paul came from behind Punk and dumped him. And then everybody's kind of like, well, wait, what the fuck? And Punk and Roman were both on the floor mad, and Seth ran over and gave Roman a double-footed curb stomp on the floor. And then Seth and Punk got in a fight, and the referees were pulling them apart. And Seth was chasing Heyman around and gave Roman a stomp on the stairs, and Punk tackled Seth again. And all this stuff's going on. But then Seth left, and then Punk left, and Roman was selling, but eventually he left. But then now we had John Cena, Logan Paul, and Jey Uso. And you could tell that with Punk and Roman and Seth out of this picture, that everybody thought pretty much John Cena had to win this. Wouldn't you say that was now what was in everybody's mind, right?
It seemed like the thing that made the most sense. Figuring he has to get one of the big matches at WrestleMania.
Right. So Logan Paul and Jey had kind of the awkward 1-2 because remember, Logan Paul's still not a veteran as far as timing, and Jay's timing is a problem even for the veterans. But Cena picked up both of them for an AA, but Jey slipped off and kicked Logan Paul and he kicked Logan Paul, and then John Cena dumped Logan Paul. So now it's down to Jey Uso and John Cena, which was, again, kind of not what you would have expected because they're both so terribly popular with the fans. And they milked it forever, and then they had a big one too. And the crowd got with that. And Cena got to do the "You Can't See Me" for the last time, as he yelled, and the 5-knuckle shuffle. But then Jay got the super kick, and again, and a spear. And then Jay went to toss John, but John reversed it. We've seen that spot a couple times, but Jay held on, and John ran at Jay, and Jay pulled the top rope down, and my God, it was like he barely cleared the top rope. I right now could get farther over the top rope, and Jay was pulling it down somewhat, but John, instead of being the low bridge thing, he kind of got over it, and they were both on the apron. And they traded the punches, and they milked it. And then Cena picks him up for the AA, but Jay dropped behind in the ring and shoved John Cena to the floor, where he landed basically feet first. And I wrote all that for that. Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. And then John Cena got in and hugged him. And we were 4.5 hours in. And of all the people that a lot of people thought might win the Rumble, I don't think that a lot of the people thought that the people that was going to win it was Jey Uso. And there was a lot of consternation and uproar on the internet for that result and General Zabada, but it kind of left people going, eh? Tell me what the feedback is that you're hearing from all of your sources.
You know, it's weird because obviously he's super over. He gets a great reaction. Now, again, a large part of it is this is the audience participation era of wrestling. It's the most expensive tickets for people that want to feel like they're at a concert or want to feel like they're involved. They like it. The matches are another story. We just saw Gunther beat him. Not really aching to see more of him against Gunther.
Think it's going to be him against Cody?
Don't really want to see him and Cody.
It ain't going to be, so we don't have to worry about it. But
so, and the other thing, again, though, he's super over, and a lot of fans loved it and went crazy for it. We did see a lot of feedback, not just to us, but just generally on social media, from people who thought it was the wrong move. I guess the big thing is the Royal Rumble maybe shouldn't be looked at as an end destination. It should be looked at as something to further along a story, whether it's from Cena, whether it's from Jey Uso, whatever. That's really what this is. Elimination Chamber's coming up. The winner of that gets a title shot, right?
Well, but it would have to be at the other champion that the first guy, the Rumble winner, doesn't pick then, though.
And if they establish from last year, can the championship be defended 2 nights in a row?
They can do anything they want to do, but here's the issue, and this is what that people are trying to figure out how to explain, but they can't really explain it. Jey Uso, because of the whole bloodline story, which we were talking about as it was happening, he was presented, and the booking was genius, as the sympathetic figure that finally broke away from the yoke of servitude under Roman Reigns, right? And they were leading people to make him a baby face, and people responded. And then they pulled the trigger on that. And now with the bloodline versus the rogue bloodline, they all got back together, but Jay was on the side of right? He had opponents that people wanted to see get their comeuppance. They like Jey Uso. They like the yeet. They like the sunglasses. They buy the merchandise. They love the entrance. Like you said, the audience participation, the lights and the waving. That's all part of it too. They like Jey Uso, and they want to see him get even with the bad bloodline or get even with people who are fucking with Gunther. Gunther called him the company mascot and a silly little man and denigrated him and didn't respect him. They wanted to see him beat Gunther. But in the Royal Rumble, the problem becomes, and this is sometimes people don't think about this, even people in creative positions. To win the Royal Rumble, Jey Uso didn't just have to beat the guy that called him the silly little man and made fun of him and disrespected him, or the rogue bloodline that everybody hated or the whatever the fuck. For Jey Uso to win, it meant that Seth Rollins couldn't win, CM Punk couldn't win, John Cena couldn't win, Roman Reigns couldn't win. In effect, a lot of those people, because those have been the stories. Those are the main guys. Those are the meat of the matter, the titles, the blood feuds. We want to see these guys intermingle, and suddenly none of them get the fucking deal. Jey Uso, in effect, beat other people that a lot of the fans wanted to see win more than they wanted to see him win, as much as they like him. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
That's the backlash. That's the feedback. Do they see Jey Uso at that level? If Roman had won, are we going to see Roman and Cody again? If Punk had won, we're going to see Punk and Cody? If fucking Seth went, we're going to see Seth and Cody? But nobody wants to see Jey and Cody. And truthfully, nobody still views the secondary world title that Gunther has as the one that the winner of the Royal Rumble should want to challenge for. But now if they do the deal that Gunther beat Jey just here, when was that? Not long ago. Where was it?
Saturday night's main event.
Yes, last Saturday or whenever the fuck it was, 2 weeks ago. But now does Jey say, I want another chance? And they heat it up with Gunther disrespecting him and calling him a silly little man and try to lead the people into wanting to see Jey get even. And then I'm not really sure I'm a fan of that, because if that does happen, Jey's got to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Or elsewise he's dead as a flounder in a fucking sandbox. So, but that's the reaction from the fans. They want to see Jey succeed until they realize that Jey succeeding caused Punk or this guy or that guy not to, and they're like, well, wait, but we wanted to see those other things. What the fuck? Now there's the Elimination Chamber, and so that it's not like they're going to bait and switch that, but he's not going to wrestle Cody. It's going to have to be Gunther again. They're just going to try to make people want that, and he's going to win it to justify their faith in him. But that's my take on why that some people were like, when it was Jey, which, was not uppermost in most people's minds amongst the people that might win the thing.